The third point of consideration that I like to share with my clients that I'd ask you to consider is that perhaps your dietary needs are highly individualized. Are your needs different than everybody else's needs? Potentially. If you look at the dietary needs of a giraffe versus the dietary needs of a whale, they're very, very different. In fact, maybe we could consider if the whales stopped eating what they eat, they wouldn't be as fat. Maybe the whales should eat as giraffes. I'll have to investigate that. I'll get back to you. But in the meantime, we just considered how all these animals have very, very different dietary needs, yet all these animals living in the wild are in pretty darn good health. They don't die of degenerative diseases. They don't get really obese, except those pesky whales. Those whales are proving my philosophy wrong. Philosophy. That's interesting, JP. There's a wise saying that suggests one man's food is another man's poison. A fourth point of consideration is there's individuality within your individualized needs. What do I mean? Well, perhaps what I mean is your nutritional needs can be different than your nutritional needs. I mentioned earlier the only thing about the body that never changes is the fact that everything's always changing about the body. If my health is out of balance and I start eating well to help get me back in balance, well, the nutritional support that I need in order to get back in balance may not be the nutritional support I need to stay in balance. If I keep pushing myself with that same nutritional support, it can actually throw me out of balance in the other direction. If I can even be non-attached to the dietary practices that work for me, realize that what I might need to eat tomorrow or next year or even by the end of today, it might be a little bit different and it might be a lot different than what I needed to eat earlier. We might feel like pulling our hair out. Like how would we ever know when our nutritional needs are changing? How can we not get lost in the swamp of our own nutritional dogmatism? That's a good question. That brings us to the fifth point I'd like to ask you to consider. This point would be paying attention to 5 significant languages that your body speaks to tell you whether or not you're in balance or out of balance, which tells us if our nutrition is working for us or working against us. If we can pay attention to these 5 signals, now we're in the place where we don't have to read diet books anymore. Now we're in the place that if my body's needs are changing, then I'm paying attention to it. And I can adjust my strategies accordingly. I can take on intelligent experimentation to find something that will work well for my body right now. These 5 signals I'd ask you to consider. 1 would be your physical energy. 2 would be your appetite satisfaction. 3 would be no food cravings. 4 would be your mental clarity. 5th of these signals would be your in-the-moment sense of emotional well-being. When these 5 factors are in balance, it's telling us that we're doing something good for us. If one of or more or all 5 of these factors are out of balance, that's telling us it's time to adjust something nutritionally. Just a quick note on these 5 body language signals. We're looking to have these things in balance for a period of several hours, preferably about 5 hours after we're done eating. Because of course, if we're eating junk food, we get high on a bunch of refined sugar, we can feel really good. In fact, all these 5 languages can feel like, oh my gosh, I've never felt better before. But after an hour or so, there will be a crash. That's why we're looking at the scope of about 5 hours after we're done eating. We want these signals to still be in balance. As you're considering these insights on how you can keep your peace of mind, I hope you can have the mindset where you're living your life so that nutrition can serve you rather than you serving your nutrition or your philosophy or trying to be loyal to a specific school of thought. I also hope that you can put your personal authority and your body's wisdom as the primary care physician that you are under the guidance of. I hope that any author that you choose to read, at best, you can look at their philosophy as an opinion created by a human being. And I hope that if you're motivated to experiment with some of their opinions, that you'll be willing to notice what about it works for you and for how long. And I hope you're willing to abandon the strategy as soon as it stops working for you. And very importantly, I hope that we all can actually settle our left brains down enough and realize that our body's nutritional needs aren't based on our beliefs. They're not based on what diet is most appealing to my psychology. The one that makes, oh, this makes sense, I believe this will work. That's not what creates our dietary needs. Our dietary needs are created by our body, not our beliefs. So I hope that you and I can be very in tune, very present with our bodies. As you go about your day with this food for thought, my wish is that you and I can be mindful, we can be alertly attentive to our nutritional needs, and we can have peace of mind rather than anger, frustration, confusion, and compulsivity governing our psychology about our nutritional choices.